Hi, this is Brooklyn, and this is our second episode of the Purple Podcast. And we'll just go around and briefly say our names. And we have a guest today, and I'll let her introduce herself in a minute here. So I'm Brooklyn again.
I'm Simon.
I'm Daniel Barnes.
I'm Britin.
Cool. Thanks for joining us, Britin. This is going to be fun. So you are kind of becoming, making a name for yourself in softball. And we're hoping that you can talk to us a little bit about that today. What got you started? What's your inspiration, or how did you decide you wanted to play softball?
Well, my hometown, Elizabeth, Colorado, there's this rec league. And when I was 8 years old, me and my sister just went out, and my dad was the coach, and he was really into baseball and had two girls, so why not coach softball, because it's the same thing, right?
Cool. That's really cool. So you've got some big plans this summer along the lines of softball, yeah?
Yes, I do.
Nice. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Where are you going, and like who is it through?
Well, through America's team, I'm going to be able to travel to Italy I think I'll be flying into Milan and working my way down to Rome and playing native teams and getting to know them afterwards and playing against them and learning more about the sport.
Wow, that sounds really cool. Cool.
How did you get into being selected for this team?
Well, my travel team coach, he nominated me for the spot.
Very cool. So, are you good at softball then?
I'd like to think so. I'm not very...
We did some research and found that you have like a .53 batting average. So, like each time you go up to bat, there's a 160% chance you're going to hit the ball.
Yeah, it's... My freshman year was a lot worse. It was like 0.1. So
well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. So that's a lot better.
Wow, yeah. So the average is that over all 4 years, or is it just this last year?
Just the season.
Oh, okay. And when is the season?
That the fall. So it starts in like August to October.
Nice. Cool.
And you had mentioned that you play in a rec league. Do you play? When is that?
I have a travel team that their league starts March actually, and it goes all the way till July.
That's awesome. Will it conflict with school, do you think, at all, or will you have to miss school, or?
No, my coach is really like understanding, and there's a lot of girls from the Western Slope that are on the team, so we're able to make time on the weekends and travel over to Fort Collins.
Nice.
Are there any other girls from the Valley that are in it?
Not here. It's mostly Grand Junction, Fruita area.
Okay.
Nice. How do you compare like rank wise in the Valley, or like what? Because you seem pretty good to me, but I'm not a big sports person, so.
Well, I know my batting average was one of the top in the state this year.
Man, that's awesome. Out
of 4A, 5A, and 3A. So, I mean, that's good.
Wow.
Right?
Well, no wonder you're starting to go places, huh?
Yeah.
Cool. Do you have any college plans, or like with softball in mind? Like what do you see over the next couple of years?
I'm starting to go and look at schools and talk to their coaches and get tours by them and go to camps, and I would like to go and play in college, but definitely not like Ohio State, Oregon University kind of level, but like a Division III smaller school is the goal.
Cool.
Have you already started your NCAA eligibility? Because I heard that's a strenuous process.
With Division III, I don't have to go through that process, so I don't have to do that, which is nice.
Nice, yeah.
It is strenuous.
So I will play the dumb one here because, again, sports is not my thing. But do you want to talk about like what that means, like as for somebody? I don't know. There probably aren't too many people like me who are this clueless, but just in case.
Like Division I is like your big schools with like a lot of kids that go, so they're gonna have a harder process to be able to play sports in. Division II, a little smaller. but still hard process. Division 3, they're more academic driven. So
Okay. And not so much sports.
yes.
Okay.
So there's no scholarships for Division 3. Division 1 and Division 2, you can get money to play for them. But Division 3, you have to get into their school before you can play their sport.
Wow. Okay. And
It's really amazing that you're like immersing yourself in all these activities related around softball and you want to keep going with them. I think that's really amazing that you're doing that.
Thank you.
So what do you, you said your focus is on Division 3 is that because you're interested in studying? What are you interested in?
I would want to do Division 3 because of like I want to work on my school more than sports. But I'm trying to. I think I want to go into either pre-law or study history
cool.
as my major.
Cool. Because you're taking AP American History right now?
Yes.
Nice. Nice. Are you enjoying that class?
Yes, I love that class.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. And you two are both in it too this year, right?
Yeah, we're both taking the class.
Gosh, we're all in the
That's
same
been-
class.
Nice.
I feel obligated whenever we talk about like foreign economic policy, which is like policy or like just talking about any other country other than U.S. Whenever Britain comes up, I feel obligated just to stare at you.
That's happened since I was like 5, so it's okay.
Nothing new. Oh, cool. I had a question along the. Oh, I remember. Okay, so, as somebody who is following something, maybe you'll pursue it in college, or maybe you'll go more for the academics. But like, what is it? How did you get to where you are, and like, as far as goal setting, or just like advice for kids who want to pursue anything or sports specifically, just.
My parents were a really big part for me because, like, with the whole college thing, I wasn't sure if I wanted to play in college just because it's just a lot of time. Like, compared to high school practices for sports, it's above and beyond. And I wasn't sure I wanted to do that. And my parents pushed me because they regretted not doing it. Like, my dad, he could have played in college baseball. And his parents didn't push him, and he didn't do it. And my parents are like, you have to do this. You're going to regret it. I know I do. So.
Wow. Well, that definitely seems like a really big influence and factor. Huh. And as far as like for yourself, like being motivated to follow a sport and to reach your goals, like do you have any thoughts on in that regard, or?
Really, it's just people around me that push me. Like, I see some seniors from the past couple of years and how well they do, and I'm like, I want to be like them. And just role models for me, really.
Nice. Cool. Awesome. Well, so at this point, we could either start to wrap up your interview a little bit, or if you guys have any more questions for Britin, we'll keep you as our guest today as we move on to other subjects, but it's wherever we want to go today, so.
Yeah, you don't have to get kicked off right away.
Yeah, but any last questions for Britin before we move on?
Well, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. It's really great to have you here.
No, of course. No problem.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked out. It was.
And we all just wish you like the best in your endeavors. You're traveling all over the world, and it's just it's so exciting.
Thank you.
We're all behind you.
Yeah. I think it's really cool to get to hear what kids in our school are doing, and like I don't have any classes with you this year, and so I had no idea. This is really cool stuff. Yeah. I had one more question. So in our research and minor like borderline stalking of you the other day, mostly research, we found that there's been some newspaper coverage and stuff like that. What sort of attention and like public awareness or like media, what's been going on for you there?
Well, not much. I don't think very many people follow softball that much, which makes me upset.
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
But I think that one article from this year was one of the only ones we had this year. Like
Okay.
a full article, so not a lot of newspaper coverage. So
But we saw like Denver Post, right, and Aspen Times, and
yeah,
has it only been stuff like along those lines, or because
yeah, it's
Denver
just
Post,
small stuff like that. The Denver Post was probably more like we made it to state this
okay,
year.
okay,
So.
yeah. Well, that might have been it, but we were impressed. Cool. All right. So another topic, if we're done here, we had mentioned AP classes, and as somebody in AP classes, I guess we're all taking AP classes this year. Just to kind of talk about like the fact that the school is pushing them versus C classes or advanced classes. So we can just get a conversation started on that if you guys are interested.
So today in AP American History, we talked about how we're learning the format for the test, which will be like renewable through the rest of our high school career. We'll be able to use the information we've learned about like writing document-based questions for next year, taking AP World History. I think it is neat that we're learning skills that'll help us through succeeding in the College Board's program. So that's one point of view.
Yeah, that's a good point. There is a lot to be said for the rigor of the AP classes and trying to get us college ready. And I don't know. So it's interesting to toss around ideas, for kids who maybe aren't looking into college necessarily. That's kind of a minority in our school. I think anyway. I don't know how well my perspective is on that, but it's interesting to see how it could be useful for kids, even if they aren't going to college, or if the AP credit doesn't transfer. There is a lot to be said for learning to be in a class that's difficult, I guess.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is it helps a lot for students going to college because it really helps on your applications. But otherwise, it still helps with what you learn from those classes. And I think primarily, therefore, I think most students are taking them are going off to take them for college credit, so that they don't have to spend as much in college, which is always a nice thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and along those lines, I talked to CMC earlier this year, and I was surprised at how down they were on AP classes. They were like, no, you should take CMC classes instead. But then to turn around and talk to some of the AP teachers, like it's completely two different perspectives. But what it can help with, even if like CMC's point was that the credit doesn't always transfer smoothly. But even if the credit doesn't transfer, you can take like proficiency tests, I guess, and jump ahead. So that'll be a big yeah, that's big. I didn't lost my word there, but anything else along those lines, or because it had seemed like an issue when we mentioned it in our brainstorming the other day, but it's turning into more of an agreement around the table. So
Yeah, I remember it was mentioned that these AP classes are kind of like trampling over having hard classes in the school. So instead of like having higher level classes, harder English classes, we end up taking it all away and going for AP classes,
mm-hmm.
which could mean that students are, well, it could go in the direction that students just have to go through the College Board, and maybe that could be undesirable if they have to pay money for these AP classes and have it all go through College Board, and then end up not having the credits transfer if they end up with that. And it also kind of blends the line between, or it fixes a line between like high school classes and college classes that might be, it just creates a line between them that kind of helps you transition into college classes. It can be approached from a lot of different ways, and it's interesting that it's growing in our school and probably schools all over the country.
Towards AP, that is, right? Just to clarify what you were saying, that AP is are you saying that AP is the gap, or like the bridge between the gap, or would it be like a like advanced classes would help us? 'Cause like in some ways AP is the next class, it's the advanced class, but just to try to understand where you were coming from with that, Daniel, but
Okay, yeah, sorry, I was a little bit unclear. I hadn't gathered my thoughts. I can see how like AP classes are preparing us for college in the future. It's always like been approached by teachers as like, okay, this is going to be a college class. This is how the standards are set in this class, and it's going to feel like a college class, and you're going to get college credit for it. At the same time, higher level classes, just normally provided by the school, could provide the same effect, and then just prepare us for college classes in the future where we could actually take our choice and get credits at colleges that we want to go to.
I feel like the AP classes are like harder than just taking the AP class, because something that we mentioned before is you kind of have to skip a year in high school. So like if you do Math 1, Math 2, Math 3, then pre-calc is what the standard would be. But if you wanted to take AP Calc, you'd have to like take years 2 and 3 at the same time so that you could be on track for that. And there's no Spanish 4 here, which I know you had mentioned as a concern, because it makes AP Spanish a lot harder.
Yeah. Which those are both interesting points, because it used to be that it was Math 1 and Math 2 were called IMP 1 and 2, and then 2 and 3. And then we had algebra and then advanced algebra. So to get to pre-calc even, you had to skip at least once. And so to get to calc, you had to skip twice. So that's an interesting point. But then back to Spanish, this year, the Spanish 4, it had been offered in the past, but it kind of fell apart this year. So I'm coming from Spanish 3 as a junior in AP Spanish, and it is a little overwhelming, but it really helps to, I don't know, I enjoy the challenge to a large degree, and I think it's pushed me and helped me to grow faster, but it is still a challenge. It's still hard, but so those are interesting points. I don't know, I come from I'm taking a lot of AP classes this year, so, and I mean, we kind of all are, I guess, kind of not necessarily representing the largest population of our school with this, but hopefully we can keep their attention anyway.
So what are you guys' opinion on how we spend a lot of time in our AP classes, like preparing for the test and actually teaching the test? For example, like in AP Calc, we spend a lot of time working through these free response questions where we have to follow like a specific format, use specific keywords in our responses, and we just have to like build our knowledge on top of what is already expected of us just to take the test. And the same goes for AP American History. We have to learn how to write a DBQ, how to gain the most points and get a good score. What are you guys' thoughts on if we're spending too much time on that, or if that's important to our understanding, or if it just comes along with it? Do you have any thoughts?
I think it comes along with it, but I think we shouldn't be spending that much time doing it. But sadly, because we don't have a lot of AP classes here, and now we're growing in that, we need to do it now in these AP classes and tone down the material we're doing, because we don't know what's to expect on AP tests. Well, other schools all over the nation do. They understand what's coming. They know what to do. While here in the Valley, we don't have that kind of sense. So we have to come back and learn the test.
Yeah, is AP American History new to this year? Do you guys know? Like, was it offered last year?
I'm pretty sure it's new this year.
Okay.
It wasn't offered last year.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I don't know that. I haven't taken it yet. And then along your lines, I was going to say that CMC, when I talked to them, that was another reason they were really down on AP, was it's all about how good you can take the test, which I think there are some skills that come along inherently as you learn how to take the test that are valuable skills, and can be applied elsewhere. It's a little bit of a stretch to see where you can apply AP test taking skills, but I don't know. There's some value to it, and I think it's good that we spend time in class learning how to take the test, because we're getting credit from the college perspective for that test, not for the class. So it's an interesting atmosphere for sure. But
I think it's pretty interesting that how the dynamics of it work, because they kind of need, the school board kind of needs to see success in the AP classes if they want to support more and more, or produce them next year. So they kind of need the scores to be higher, but at the same time you're covering less material because you're trying to study for the test. And also in US history, I think it's a vital skill to kind of write the essay, which is what we've been going over, and is like a key part of being historically accurate and writing as if you were in college. But at the same time, it's also like you have to analyze these documents and you have to use them exactly in your response like this. So it's kind of a balance there.
yeah, I agree. It's a balance, because it becomes the test taking skills are almost as important as the actual knowledge, because we're trying to pass this test, like the end goal of passing the test, which for me, I like to think that education is about learning rather than taking tests. So it again is interesting, but
At the same time, it's a great opportunity that we're able to just take the tests and just get our credits straight off from that instead of taking an entire semester. Like, for example, I'm planning on taking the AP Computer Science test at the end of this year. I don't have to take the course because I've already tried to learn that information. So it is a good opportunity that's offered.
yeah, that's a good point. So because you from the college perspective, again, you'd get credit for the whole class, even though you didn't take the whole class, if you pass the test. So that's a bonus, but I think that's kind of a rare scenario.
Yeah. It's also good that these are being offered in high school. We don't have to pay college tuition for the class. That's one point that we were missing.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I think we've kind of covered most of this AP tangent here. I have in my notes here that we had mentioned track, talking about track briefly. That's the biggest sport in our school, right? I mean, as a non-sports person again, but I think it's fairly safe to say that the majority of kids get involved in track. It seems like it anyway. When does has it started yet, or when does it start, or does?
I think I asked someone in band, and they told me that it starts at the beginning of next week.
Oh, nice. Wow, that came up fast. I always thought it was like springtime and end of the year time and next week. Like, oh my goodness, the year goes fast after the semester mark, it feels like. But cool. And so you're planning on joining track, or anybody else? Nope.
Nope, I am not involved in track at all.
You are softball, so cool. And then also the musical, again, briefly. I think, Daniel, you're the only one in it. But do you want to tell us a little bit about what it's going to be this year, or what the musical experience is like? I guess we can break that up into 2 questions later. But
Okay, yeah, I can talk about that for a bit. So yeah, each year we have the spring musical, and there's also the fall play, which goes on earlier in the year. So the spring musical is like this huge opportunity where people audition and get a role in these big musicals. We work really hard for a few months, and we just pull off these amazing productions. And each year we've done like these really cool we've done a lot of cool stuff. Like this year we're doing Guys and Dolls. Last year we did Children of Eden. The year before that I believe we did Bye Bye Birdie. Then we've done like Chorus Line and
I remember Rent was one of them when I was in middle school, but yeah, it seems like a really cool thing. Last year was the first time I had personally gone to the musical, but I really enjoyed it.
Okay, yeah, and it's just amazing. I think we're bringing in like a lot of musicians from all over the state to try to like just make this production an amazing one, and I'm really excited to be working on it. There's a lot of cast members, there's a really great group of people. A lot of people are auditioning, or a lot of people have roles regardless if they're in chamber choir or concert choir, and it's just every year it's an amazing group of people, and it's a great opportunity.
That's really cool. I remember being really surprised by the amount of talent from our small little school here. You guys do a good job with that. What sort of time commitment does, like, what goes into making the musical? Do you want to? That's a big question, I'm sure, but we can just for the sake of something to talk about.
Okay, so something interesting about the musical is that instead of being like a different sport like baseball or track or wrestling, you're not always there for every single rehearsal. Like last year, we get like a rehearsal schedule for the entire week, and sometimes we would be called for like 15 minutes from like 7:15 to 7:30. Sometimes we'd be called for an hour from like 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. Sometimes we work like entire days, like we spent an entire Saturday down at Snow West Chapel last year. This year, it looks like the rehearsals are going to be on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, usually in the evenings during the week, and we're going to work through choreography on Saturdays.
Cool. And the schedule is usually based loosely around what the cast can make, right? Like the audition schedule, that is.
Yeah, that's right. Right as we audition, we show. As we audition, we fill out a little form that says like, okay, when are we busy? When are we busy? What are we doing? Like during the week regularly, and then they like form the rehearsal schedule around that, and it just flows into these big practices that work out really well.
Nice, cool. Yeah, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just kind of like signaling. Is it difficult for you to do both track and the musical at the same time?
Well, last year I didn't actually sign up for track. I actually just, I thought it'd be fun to like practice with the track team when they were at the school or running around when I wasn't busy with the musical. So I don't know, I just kind of hung out with them and ran a little bit so I could be in shape. But the rehearsals were like usually late in the evening. Like right now we have rehearsals starting at like 6:30, so I can go from like wrestling from 4 to 6 and then down to rehearsal from 6:30 to like 8:30 or something, and it works out pretty well.
Somehow have homework in there too, yeah? Wow. Yeah, that's a busy schedule.
Daniel doesn't do homework.
I would be surprised. I think Daniel does homework. Wow, yeah, that's a big time commitment, but it definitely seems like it'd be something fun and rewarding, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I know the audience does when they get to sit and watch it all, but
yeah, and it absolutely pays off with it. Everyone in the cast has so much fun. Working on it is amazing. There's so many great people involved with it, and by the end of it, you're just so overjoyed to be part of it, and you just put on a great production, and it's just amazing.
Nice, cool. All right, so I guess we're gonna start wrapping up here a little bit. We've got a couple minutes left. So we've talked about, so you had mentioned track, but you are thinking about jumping on like actually signing up for track this year in addition to the musical. Does wrestling season end before track starts? Like, is it gonna get a little crazy in there for a while, or?
So I think last year, like, there was this overlap period that I was having trouble with. This year, it actually goes straight from, like, wrestling ends this week. Today's our last practice, the Thursday when we recorded this. And then on Friday, we leave for regionals, I think in Montrose. And then we'll wrestle, and then the next week, I guess, track practice is starting. And if you're in wrestling and you are going to state, you might wrestle for the next week. But otherwise, it looks like it cleanly goes from one to another.
Nice. And Britin, another question for you, maybe along these lines is like, how do you balance sports and school, especially since you said you want to primarily be an academic person?
I just take the time, and I have to organize myself. I figure out time schedules, practice from here to here, do homework before or after then, and I just have to be organized and plan everything out ahead of time.
Do you have to do your own kind of training regimen as well as playing softball to be as good as you are?
Yeah, my travel team coach, he has a little sheet, and on it's just a workout plan that I have to do 3 times a week. Anytime, I just have to do it.
Wow. Yeah, I think I personally would have trouble sticking to something like that in general, with being a procrastinator, and the whole idea of like a workout is to like space it evenly, but I don't know. Again, sports is not my thing. Cool. Well, let's see. What else? Thanks again for joining us today, Britin.
Thank you for having me.
This was fun. This podcast is still very new. This is only our 2nd episode, so we're still trying to figure out what it's gonna end up looking like. But I think in the future it'll end up being along these lines: part interview, part discussion of issues in our school. And I guess that's about it for today. So we'll start to wrap up. But thanks again. This was great.
Thank you guys.
Cheez-Its.